There's some interesting developments in the current Australian federal election with some promises and also some interesting BYD news. Australia has a federal election coming on May the 21st-ish, and both major parties are doing their usual round of promises. Of course, the current holders of office seem to be doing their usual bugger all for the environment and renewables, but the opposition has been making some really interesting and good promises. So if they ever get elected, and if they ever adhere to the promises, and we all know what politicians are like, then some interesting time for electric vehicles is ahead. So firstly, here in Western Australia, they've pledged 125 million Australian dollars from the federal government, along with a matching amount from the local WA government to build a bus factory here in Perth in Western Australia. But it's not just any old bus factory, it's an EV bus factory nonetheless. I can't wait for that one to come to fruition. Next, the federal opposition also announced the first ever federal electric car discount for Australia. Several states have already got some incentives, but this will be the first one from our federal government. EVs in Australia account for 1.5% of total cars sold here, and that 1.5% includes PHEVs, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, as well as battery electric vehicles. And this compares pretty poorly to the UK, which has got 17%, which is more than 10 times, and Norway's 85%. So despite the growing enthusiasm for EVs here in Australia, people aren't buying them, due mostly to the cost. Here in Australia, we have got no EVs under 40,000 Australian dollars and only 5 under 60,000, which compared to the UK's 2 dozen EVs under that $60,000 equivalent price and 8 cheaper than any EV sold here in Australia. We're well behind the 8 ball. This is because the other countries have had some sort of incentives to help bring the cost of EVs down to a more manageable level for the average household. The proposition from the opposition is that if they get elected, they will exempt many EVs from the import tariff of 5% and also abolish the fringe benefits tax on EVs for companies. So that's only going to benefit companies, but the discount of 5% on the import tariff will help the average household. Unfortunately, it's only going to apply to EVs that are under what is called our luxury car tax tariff, which at the moment stands at just under 78,000 Australian dollars. But it is due to start on the 1st of July 2022 if they get elected. Unfortunately, this will mean that if you choose, say, a Tesla Model 3 long range and you want it in red, you're going to be paying the luxury car tax, but not if you want it in any other colour. In addition, they want to encourage EV infrastructure and EV manufacturing here in Australia, but they haven't really shed much in the way of details on that. But there's a sting in the tail, as always, because they're also going to look at ways to address their policy implications of a declining fuel excise. As we've already got several states here that are imposing or about to impose a per kilometre tax on electric vehicles, I can only assume that this is likely to happen federally as well. So that's not good news. The Electric Vehicle Council here in Australia have estimated that on a 50,000 Australian dollar electric vehicle, there will be a saving of approximately $2,000. So something like the BYD Atto 3, which is approaching the $50,000 mark once you've added in all the taxes, certainly here in Western Australia, it's going to be cheaper by almost $2,000. So it's a start. And in other news from BYD and EV Direct, who are the importers, and it's according to Which Car, BYD plans to get a bit more aggressive with its expansion here in Australia. After the Atto 3 starts deliveries here in July, the small hatchback called the Dolphin, but here it will probably be called the Atto 2, will have its order books opened later in 2022 for possible delivery in either December this year or early 2023. It's estimated this will have a selling price of around 35,000 Australian dollars, maybe closer to 40,000. But depending upon who wins our election this month, it may be available with about a $1,500 discount on that. It's also possible that the Seal, which will probably be known as the Atto 4 maybe here, will also be available for pre-order before the end of this year, and deliveries will be next year. Now the Seal, the Atto 3, the Atto 2 or Dolphin share the same e-platform 3.0 architecture that all the other BYD EVs do, and it's also got the Blade battery technology, which is proving to be one of the safest batteries around. Here in Australia, we really don't have a dual cab ute. Now that's Australian slang for utility, or a truck for you Americans. But BYD has one in development. Luke Todd, who's the owner of EV Direct that's importing the BYDs, said, "It's real, it's under development and I've seen it." So here we go. That will be really a brilliant car to get here. Pre-orders should open up for that in 2023, and deliveries will be later on in 2023. But I reckon that's going to go pretty crazy here in Australia. It will be the first EV ute that's a proper mid-sized dual cab EV. But of course, it's going to depend upon its specifications, battery size, range, etc. And they're just not available yet. Here in Oz, EV Direct have had a servicing partnership with My Car, which was formerly Kmart Tyre and Auto. And they're currently acting as the pickup point, certainly here in Western Australia, as well as the service centres for the BYD. In addition to that, EV Direct have a memorandum of understanding with a company called Eagers Automotive, which is a publicly listed car dealership network. I actually hadn't heard of this company, but they've grown from a turnover in 2000 of 500 million Australian to 8.7 billion in 2020. The reason I hadn't heard of them is they bought basically a West Australian company called AHG, or Automotive Holdings Group, in 2019. They're quite a big dealership group here in Western Australia, and I think they had a few over east as well. So now Eagers Automotive have got quite the dealership network that extends not only around Australia but parts of New Zealand as well, and they sell cars from Suzuki's to Bentleys. So BYD's first model, the Atto 3, will begin arriving in Australia in July at the rate of about $1,500 per month, but they've got the capacity to more than double that. And if we get the federal incentives going, things are going to be looking pretty bright for EVs in Australia, and certainly for BYD. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this news quite interesting. Don't forget, click like and subscribe, make a comment if you like, and that will help promote so that the video, so that other people will get to see them. Thanks very much.